Welcome everyone to the Gary Neville Podcast at the end of just the most remarkable evening at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Gary, I'm looking at my notes and it's pointless because they're a mess. There was just too much to take on board, but I'm going to ask you if it's possible for some sort of overview.
Madness, a mess. But do you know something? Obviously, we've just had a couple of minutes since the end of the game, and Jamie Carragher said about the Premier League, and it is a beautiful thing, the Premier League, because I don't know, honestly. I mean, look, I know there's great games in other countries, but the games that we see, the incident that we see, the excitement, the thrill, I suppose in some ways, controversy, it's absolutely incredible week in, week out. And I know people at this moment in time are questioning whether VAR should even exist. Referees are getting absolute bashing. But it was thrilling tonight. It really was thrilling, I have to say. We've got some great managers in our league, and they're playing some great football, and what we're seeing is fantastic. But, I mean, tonight, that is a game that you do not see once in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I'm trying to think of a game like that I played in at Manchester United, where there were many memorable matches, but that was just sheer madness, that. I mean, the FA Cup semi-final in 99, we had a save penalty in the last minute. We had, obviously, a man sent off. We had a last-minute Giggs, or whatever it was, Giggs winner with, obviously, Arsenal, obviously, with the man ahead, and that was madness and mayhem, but this was just unbelievable tonight. And well done to Tottenham for playing like they did with 9 men. Well done, honestly. Chelsea, we know, are not a finished article, and they've got a long way to go. They demonstrated most when Tottenham were down to 9 men, their lack of maturity, but they got there in the end.
You say well done to Tottenham, and clearly 50, 60,000 people in here agreed with you, because they got a standing ovation having lost 4-1. And yet when they were down to 10, you were jumping up and down saying, careful, what's this high line? You were frightened by it. So do you now think, and listen, nobody's being critical of a great game like that, but do you now think they were brave or stupid?
No, I can't say they were brave or stupid, really, because they lost 2 or 3 goals at the end to it. But on the other hand, the way in which they contributed to the excitement of the evening, I tell you, in some ways, look, we've seen different teams do this different ways. If they go back and sit at the edge of their own box, they might get pulled from side to side, and they might end up getting more fatigued. Whereas when they went up to the halfway line, they allowed Vicario to be a sweeper keeper, and they probably were doing less running. So, look, Ange Postecoglou, you know, he's a very, very smart manager who would, to be fair, do that for a reason. I mean, look, it frightens me to death just generally the high line with 11 men, let alone with 9 men, because it's something I never did during my career. We used to play a good line, I'd say, but never. I mean, this was absolute madness. And at the end, obviously, they were just obviously trying to save their legs and counter-attack, and it was a bit of desperation. But look, the way in which they've approached the game, you saw a very confident, positive 9 men that were being inspired, and they were inspiring the home crowd against a very unsure Chelsea who didn't know how to break them down, who were getting more and more sort of like they were shrinking as the game was moving forward. And then as soon as they got that second goal, they played a few passes, and I was encouraging them. That's the one thing we always at Manchester United were told to do if we were against 10 men: play the extra pass. Play the extra pass, and you just did. You didn't shoot from distance, you didn't let them off the hook easy, you didn't cross it too soon, because that's what they want you to do. Play the extra pass, move it quickly, poke it in, get it back, move it wide, switch it out the other side, push it back in again, and you just carry on doing that, and eventually you'll wear them out, and you'll get an opportunity, because one of them will become fatigued, the defenders that are in the 10-men team, and they'll basically lose concentration and focus. And it's time and time again it happened. Make the pitch as big as possible. So from what Chelsea did the opposite of that. They were really poor, and I think, you know, you'll never see, I think, a manager who's won 4-1 away from home at a big club probably is questioning and worried about his team, and you'll probably never see a team of a manager that's lost 4-1 at home be as positive about his team, and that's how I think both managers will feel. Maurizio Pochettino will be, obviously he'll be happy with the 3 points because they've had a desperate start to the season, but I think he'll also think there is a long way to go here with this group.
And Ange Postecoglou, for all his pride, will have to have an opinion on the sendings off, because as proud as he will be of the 9 who remained, he did lose Romero and he did lose Doggy. So a word on those.
Yeah. Look, we'll find out what Ange Postecoglou says because he's doing his interview now and it'll come into us. I'm really hopeful that we don't see a repeat of what's happened in the last few weeks. Because, look, Liverpool got a really bad one here. It was a shocker. And they had every right to be annoyed. Jurgen Klopp had every right to be annoyed. I thought he handled it brilliantly. But then what we saw the day after was language being used in a statement like sporting integrity. We're going to assess our options. Replays were asked for. Come on. That's really dangerous stuff, I think. It is. We can't go down that route. And then obviously after the game on Saturday at Newcastle, we saw Mikel Arteta really angry, disappointed, called it a disgrace. And yeah, ultimately I never want to see managers lose their emotion at the end of a game. But then for Arsenal Football Club to write that letter that they did last night and make that statement, honestly, it's pathetic. It's really poor. And I think the Premier League have to get a grip of it. We can't make a decision that, to be fair, could have been 50-50. All these decisions, to be fair, even some of them tonight. And Ange Postecoglou's doing his interview now. Udogie was stupid. He should have been sent off for me for that two-footed lunge, because you shouldn't have to harm somebody with that challenge. That challenge is outlawed. It was outlawed 20 years ago, that one. That is the one that is unequivocally a red. And just because Raheem Sterling pulls his leg away at the last minute, he goes right for Raheem Sterling's leg and would have broke his leg if Raheem Sterling hadn't just seen it coming. Do we have to get Raheem Sterling basically cut in half for that to be a red card? That tackle should have been a red card. So Udogie had lost his head first half. Romero, it's his fourth time he's been sent off. So I think Postecoglou needs to go into the dressing room and question the sort of what would be composure and thought process of his two players. And I got sent off at times. And at times I thought, Gary, you've let yourself down. You've let your teammates down. And I would have owned that. I'm hoping that Udogie and Romero and the rest of the Tottenham players and squad are not thinking, we've been hard done to, we've been done by VAR, we've been done by the referee. No, you've not. You've been done tonight by your own stupidity. You were special in that first 15 minutes. Your football was brilliant. We were purring over what Spurs were doing to Chelsea. Chelsea couldn't get anywhere near them. And then Udogie's challenge, for me, changed the whole game. It changed the whole course and direction of the match. So to me, Spurs have to own tonight everything that happened. Their positivity, their thrilling football, their high line, but they have to own their ill discipline as well. And I hope we're not going to go down that route of, let's send statements in and sort of blaming VAR. I don't think Ange Postecoglou's that type of manager.
Well, I can tell you that I'm being told you're right. He has accepted it. He said VAR have looked at it and we must accept that decision. Whether or not that means he agrees with it, who knows what's in his heart, but he is complying, if you like.
But that doesn't surprise me, because I think, to be fair, the way in which he's conducted himself in the first couple of months in this league, I think he's got honour. And I think, to be fair, he knows how to behave properly. And I don't think Arsenal have behaved properly in the last 24, 48 hours. I genuinely don't. But Tottenham have obviously looked at what Arsenal have done, and maybe Ange Postecoglou would have come to that conclusion anyway, because I think he's just that type of bloke, and thought, no, hang on a minute, my two players that have been sent off tonight, let's be clear, they were absolutely definite red cards.
He's gone on to say that he is concerned, as I suppose everybody in the football community is, that whilst he has no complaint about either red card, he is concerned about this forensic coverage of everything.
Honestly, there was an incident in the second half there, and we get to see the VAR camera. This is our VAR camera here that we get to see. This one here. This everything VAR, and then we have a VAR control here that basically is in front of us. And there's no doubt they were looking at it, because they were looking at a decision so forensically, as you say. They're frightened to death, Peter. Honestly, I think at this moment in time, they've been challenged, they've been undermined by their own members and clubs. They've been put under significant pressure, and they've made some really poor decisions, by the way. Let's be clear, in the last few weeks. Obviously, the error here of obviously Liverpool was a shocker. That was a real shocker. That was a real bad one for the referees. But I have to say, I think that they were poorly treated by Arsenal on behalf of that goal on Saturday. I think that goal, to be fair, could have been disallowed, but it easily could have been given. It was subjective, and it's either a flip of the coin. I have to say tonight, I think that, I agree that there is a lot of disruption. There is a lot of time being taken over the decisions. I think the referees are unsure, but I'm not surprised. I think the Premier League need to get a grip. I think their international break is round the corner. I think we've got one more Premier League weekend. Honestly, the leadership within the Premier League need to get a grip of their clubs, need to pull them together into a room and say, look, we know there's going to be mistakes. We know there's going to be disappointment. We know that there's going to be errors. We know that all these things are going to happen. It's football. It's happened for 30, 40, 100 years. But let's at least agree on some principles of how we deal with it and how we basically show the game publicly to the world. And if you've got basically famous football clubs writing statements questioning sporting integrity of referees or calling referees a disgrace in what would be formerly letter-headed paper of your Arsenal Football Club, to me that's going a step too far. Look, emotion at the end of the game, managers' interviews, players' interviews, no problem. I got fined a couple of times for things that happened on the pitch, for incidents of ill discipline. So I've been there myself. I'm not asking for us to remove the emotion. What I'm asking for is this public assassination by football clubs of the refereeing community, and that shouldn't happen. And managers can do it. I expect managers to do it, but not football clubs, boardrooms who sanction these types of statements. So for me, they need to get a grip on that. But I'm glad Ange Postecoglou's come out, and look, he may disagree with a couple of the things that have happened tonight privately, but I think he'll also realise that Romero and Udogie have been stupid and that they should just own their mistakes.
And in purely football terms, he goes to Wolves at the weekend, and he's going to have to pick a team having done so well for 10 games without Romero, without probably Van der Ven, without Udogie, and possibly without Maddison. And so this terrific 11 he's so quickly put together ain't an 11 anymore.
No, he'll need the international break probably more than he thought before tonight, that's for sure. And I hope Tottenham can keep that team together because, look, this is no flaky Spurs, this, by the way. They're really showing some guts and courage out on the pitch, and those 9 players did tonight. And the couple of players, to be fair, that overstepped the mark, I'd rather have that, to be fair. As much as I didn't like it, and I think they have let the teammates down, because that's what I would have said about myself all those years ago when I got sent off. I got sent off here at White Hart Lane, just down the road, for 2 stupid challenges on Ginola. And I was like, how stupid could you be? I've been there, I've done it. But you're still stupid, and you're stupid in 2023 the same. And so for me, look, he needs to get, obviously, all these players back. This is a really good feeling in this stadium. The fans really respond to that manager. The manager really responds to the players respond to him, and they really are good. They're good to watch. I hope they keep their team together. They haven't got European football. They're out of the Carabao Cup, so it's as clean as it could be. And look, maybe they get those players back after the international break, the ones that have been injured. Van der Ven's going to have 3 weeks now before he's missed 1 game. Obviously, he'll miss weekend, but hopefully it's not a really severe tear of his hamstring. Romero, we know, will miss 3 games. He'll miss 1 and then 2 after the international break. So Maddison, again, we hope, is not too bad. And they can get that, maybe 2 or 3 games they might miss between them all, and then they can get back again. So that was always going to happen, but it all happened in one night.
It was Christmas Day for Nicholas Jackson, wasn't it? I mean, he was a guy who the manager felt it necessary to come out and offer very public support because he'd taken a bit of a hit. He wasn't the superstar centre-forward that everybody was dreaming, and he's been presented with a hat-trick. How much of a launch for him? And as unconvinced as you may or may not have been with Chelsea, how much of a launch for them as a whole?
I'm not wholly convinced it's going to be a launch because I think there were some things out there to worry about tonight, particularly the first 15 minutes when Tottenham had 11 men on the pitch. First 20 minutes, I thought that, they really got outplayed. They looked well off it. And obviously when they went to 9 men Spurs, Chelsea looked a little bit clueless at times. But for Jackson, he's got the principle, he's got the potential that I think Mauricio Pochettino will like. He runs, he's athletic. I thought he did a really good thing in the first half where Vicario made a wonderful save where he just turned back inside. But then obviously at the end he hits that one over the bar. So he is inconsistent. He is sort of erratic with his finishing. I think we need to try and, if we can, see more consistency from him. But he's a handful. He's a threat. You wouldn't like to play against him. There's a few Chelsea players like that, but it's how they knit it together to be a team and coherent, because at the moment it's still obviously up and down week to week. So I wouldn't say it's the sort of catalyst for Chelsea's season. I don't think I've seen enough to demand that, and they've got a significant amount of difficult fixtures coming up. You'll tell me who they are.
No, I was going to take you on to the next fixture, which is Manchester City.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're playing against Manchester City. Extremely tough game, the best team in Europe and the world at this moment in time. And Chelsea obviously are punching up. They're nowhere near that level. But they've got to continue to measure themselves. They gained 3 points from tonight and they'll leave this stadium happy because, to be fair, it could have been very different if it hadn't been for Tottenham's ill discipline. So Chelsea can take something out of tonight in that they've won 4-1 at a very difficult place to go and broke Ange Postecoglou's record. 52 games unbeaten at home, which is memorable, really. But Chelsea, they've got a fair way to go. And the Chelsea players, board, everyone will know that. The fans will know that.
Okay, have we covered everything, do you think?
I don't know, to be fair, Peter. I'm I'm actually off next weekend. I don't think I can do another Premier League game for a bit. I think I need a break. It's honestly, I think the last 2 games, I think I've done the real controversial sort of refereeing games of the season. And you're in a position whereby you're watching the game and you're thinking, I've never seen football like this before. I've never seen incidents like this before. I've never seen matches like this before. And you're asking yourself the question, is VR adding to the excitement? Is it taking away from the excitement? It's certainly adding to the debate, which we love in this country. I mean, the thing is about football, you can all have an opinion. We all have opinions. But you don't even agree with your own mate. I mean, there are such credible people in the last few days that have watched that Newcastle goal and have said it should have been disallowed, that I think, are credible people who've played the game who haven't played the game. And then there are credible people who've played the game, haven't played the game, who said the goal should have been allowed. So we're all split, really, on the same decision. And yet, the debate is whether we should continue with VAR or not. What we should say is that a real shocker of a decision? No. I've not seen a real shocker here tonight. I mean, I think the Udogie one was a red card.
Did the officials have a good night tonight, do you think?
It's impossible to know anymore. Honestly, I don't even know what's happened here tonight. There were 5 goals that went in, and I'm not quite sure. But it felt to me like they got all the big decisions correct. I would have just said, I think Udogie's 2-footed lunge for me is a challenge that instantly, at that speed, with that ferocity, should be a red card, irrespective of whether you make contact or not. Because the intent is there to go and hurt someone, or you could really hurt someone and endanger an opponent badly. So for me, I think that was the one that I think was a bad one. The Reece James arm, orange, so probably got it, in that sense right. All the offsides were obviously correct. So, yeah, they probably had a good night, but I don't think they'll feel like they've had a good night. I think they'll be going away from here absolutely exhausted like we are, and probably thinking, are they going to be on the end of another battering by another football club or another set of fans or another set of players? And that's where we're at this moment in time. There's a real lack of confidence in what's happening. But I do genuinely think that comes from, yes, the referees and the decisions that are being made, but I also think it's to do with the pylon that's come through. Really, this is sort of dangerous, I think, statements that have been made by big clubs in our country. We need to get rid of that. I'm pretty certain of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we're done, Gary. Thank you.
I think we are done.
Thank you very much.
Completely.
Everybody needs a good lie down. We're not even sure that what we saw, we know we saw. Just a crazy game.
I'm not even sure if this podcast even makes sense, to be honest with you, but, listen to it if you like. If you don't, then no problem.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.